Hi, so for my vlog today, I wanted to talk about Audre Lorde's use of the word, like, home, in quotation marks, in Zami. So we see the word come up many times in the text, like, generally speaking of her mother or, like, her mother's homeland. In the first chapter on page 13, she writes, "Once home was a far way off, a place I had never been to but knew well out of my mother's mouth." So this quote kind of like establishes Lord's understanding of the word home when it came to her mother. However, like home has a very different meaning for her mother herself. So I'm going to be focusing on three quotes, although like I know there are many references to home in the text. So on page 18, speaking about her like childlike innocence when it came to understanding money and like thinking that her family was rich. Lord speaks of her mother not being able to afford gloves. Later, I remember my mother rubbing her hands gingerly under cold water and wringing them in pain. But when I asked, she brushed me off by telling me this was what they did for it at home, and I still believed her when she said she hated to wear gloves. Um, so, like, what the text is telling us here is that, like, the family was not rich, but that like her mother and father, but like mostly her mother as far as we can see, had to go without in order to keep Lord and like her sisters warm during the winter. um, on page 19, Lord says, "She always said it was because the kerosene lamp reminded her of home. When I was grown, I realized she was trying to save a few pennies of electricity before my father came in and turned the lights on." So, like in this quote, we see that Lord was able to understand her mother's choice in retrospect, um, and like what her mother had to do to keep the lights on and like the family going. On page 44, when they were talking about, or when she was talking about the family vacation that they took, she says, "And there my mother sat, day after day, in her light cotton dresses. Her ankles were properly crossed, and her arms folded as she watched my two sisters and I play at the water's edge. Her eyes would be very soft and peaceful as she gazed over the water, and I knew she was thinking of home." So, like, the common thread, what all of these quotes have in common is the theme of sacrifice. Like, in all of these quotes, the word home is used in conjunction with like something Lord's mother has had to give up. So, like, for example, the warmth of her island, the pennies she's had to pinch to keep the electricity going, or like the sense of belonging that she had before she came to America. And like, furthermore, that informs a lot of her behavior throughout the text, because her mother isn't like often seen as kind of being like overtly loving, like, affectionate, and but that doesn't necessarily mean that like her mom didn't love her. It means that this is a woman who had to give up an incredible amount throughout her life, to keep her family safe and healthy. And I think that speaks a lot about like the love of a mother, and like where a mother will go, like what they will do to keep their family safe and healthy.